Popular hairstyles. So the first question sent here, what are the most popular or requested hairstyles you're getting right now? If you can break them down by age demographics, it would be great. I would say my clients who are 18 to 25, they're really going hard on this longer, flowier, messier hairstyle thing. What I'm seeing a ton of is natural textures. People really like wave, they really like curl. A lot of kids in this age group are getting perms these days. It's actually back. Perms are in. I'm sure you know if you're watching this. But I see a lot of people with straight hair who want it to bend more. And I'm seeing kind of a move away from tidier, fresher, crisper, tighter hairstyles. We get a lot of requests for like, everything comes from TikTok. But TikTok didn't invent it. It's just a reinvention of something that previously existed. And so, if you were to watch the show Boy Meets World, that's a good example of where the trends in that age group are kind of, not that they're watching that show and picking it off of that show, but those are the kinds of hairstyles, very 1990s, like middle part skater kid haircut. But then, at the same time, they don't want it to look so pristine and combed into place. They really want it to look disheveled. There's a couple of barbers I know who are really feeling it at this look. Shout out to Dino the Barber on Instagram. He works out of LA. He kills this look. And also, Trent Cuts on Instagram, these guys. If you go look at their posts, you can see what I'm talking about. It's very like disheveled and lived in, but with a very 1990s shape and style to it. And then, I think this younger age group still has a very barbershop heavy mentality in that I'll get a lot of requests for like, I want the messy flow, but I want really tidy sideburns or a clean taper. And oftentimes actually, the taper kind of goes against what they want their hair to do. And so, we kind of have this decision to make. Do you want it tapered like you're used to doing? Or do you want to go for the look? So yeah, and that younger age group, they still very much have the clean, tidy lines. Like, they'll hide them into the otherwise messy haircut. What I'm finding from people who are a little bit older, I would say 25 to 35, a really big push towards lived-in hair. And what I mean by that is if you were to go look at the red carpet, or any of these celebrities that we look up to for hair icons or whatever, all the Brad Pitts and those guys, you almost never see them with perfect, crispy haircuts. There's some level of, I don't even know if imperfection is the right word, but it's like it's a very lived-in natural finish. The idea is you get a haircut today that looks like you got a haircut last week. And that is a massive, massive request that I'm getting lately. The fun thing really for all age groups regarding trends right now is there's not any one thing that's popular. I'm getting things from very short, messy buzz cuts, kind of like what I have right now. It's funny because you go into some shops, you say, I want it short and messy, and they'll go, what do you mean? Short is messy. If you go look at celebrities with very short hair, like the buzz cuts and things in Hollywood, they have a very unkempt grown-in look to them even while very, very short. Like, you go look at the Ryan Reynolds haircuts and stuff, they're very disheveled but very short. And I'm getting people in real life asking for that. You know, the last 10 years if somebody wanted short hair, they wanted it short and clean. But now I'm getting very specific requests. Like, I want it short but messy. So that's something that really all the age groups are kind of doing here and there. But mostly that kind of 25 to 35. And I think it's as a result of they just don't want to style their hair. They want to go like this and be done. I think across most age groups as well, looking like you styled your hair is kind of on the way out. I'll get into that more on the next question. People don't want to look like they tried, at least in my clientele. They don't want to look like they got the $100 haircut. And incidentally, that's kind of what a $100 haircut often can get you. It doesn't look like you tried, but you accidentally happen to look good anyways. And that's a very narrow target to hit, to do something kind of disheveled and messy, but kind of tasteful at the same time. I'm getting a lot of mullets right now, like a lot of mullets. I literally just finished doing one right before I sat down to make this video. And what he requested, he's like, dude, I want this thing to look dirty. I want it to look nasty, but I want it to look cool at the same time. And so it's not as simple as just bash up the haircut and make it bad. If you know what you're looking at, there's a lot of shape involved there to keep it still tasteful and tailored looking. But the overall finish, like, I mean, he literally told me, he's like, I want to take product in the morning and go like this, and then not think about it for a week. That has been a huge request. The unfinished kind of messy cuts, the really disheveled finishes, but still classically shaped in most cases, like the mullet. I guess maybe is kind of like a pseudo-classic. I'm still getting a lot of the 80s businessman as far as my 35-plus-year-olds. Like, they want to look like. And I mentioned this in the last video, I did it on Point Fresh, but I'm still getting a lot of requests for like the American Psycho. That's not going anywhere. In fact, I think that's only going to get more popular. And another one that surprised me is long layered hair is becoming popular. And when I say layered, I mean like the hair on top doesn't hang down as far as the hair on the bottom. If all the hair hangs down to the same place, you have a one-length haircut, and it doesn't move because the hair on top weighs down everything else, and then the hair on the bottom pushes out the hair on top. And so, if you're growing your hair out and you end up getting this kind of triangle shape, it's because you need your hair layered. And so what I'm getting a lot of requests for is guys who maybe started growing their hair out way back in COVID and maybe trimmed it once or twice along the way. And now they've got hair down to here that's all one length, and so it's pushing out. And all they've known is like, I don't know, just pull it down and cut the back. And now what they're saying is like, I want my hair to move, and I want it to do stuff. Probably 5 times this week, I made that sort of transformation on clients where they came in with very long one-length hair, and they left with layers. And so what these layers will do is like the hair on the top and the hair on the bottom. If you pull them out this way, they'll be the same length here. But when you pull them down, the hair on the bottom is going to hang much further than the hair on the top will. And so everything in between here flips out and moves. That's what layers are. And what I'm seeing my clients do with these long layered haircuts is essentially you treat the front like you have just a regular medium-length haircut. You'll slick it back, side part it, and let it be up and messy. And then in the back, you just have this like party happening back there. So that's actually been really ramping up in popularity recently. People for so many years were doing longer tops, shorter bottoms, and now it's actually going in the inverse. And we're seeing shorter tops with longer bottoms. Very 1980s, 1990s. Like if you watch Stranger Things, a lot of the hairstyles in there that, when the show came out, were kind of outlandish. They're like legit now. Like people really want like Stranger Things haircuts, like color popped on a jean jacket thing. Out of favor hairstyles number 2. What hairstyles do you see going out of favor? Is the broccoli head hairstyle on its last leg? What I see people come in nearly repulsed by these days is they don't want comb lines. They don't want heavy pomades. They don't want anything that looks like they tried. Even the people who are spending $100 on a haircut and spending $50 on a really nice hair product, they're putting in the effort, but it's different now. Rather than daily putting every hair perfectly in place, like, I don't want to be that guy anymore. They want to put time into it less frequently, and the resulting look is just something a lot more haphazard and lived in. So when I get a client who says they want a short haircut, I'll ask them, do you want to see clean, hard lines? Like, do you want to look like you got a haircut? Or do you want me to leave the lines kind of natural, like you didn't get a haircut? And for a long time, it was kind of 50-50ths. Some liked the fresh look, but these days I almost never do lines on a haircut. Like, almost nobody wants that. For a couple of minutes there, maybe a few years ago, people were kind of throwing designs in their hair. I haven't seen a design from like anybody, except for the people who specialize in that and only do that. But designs are like out. Another thing that's kind of out is, so the broccoli head thing. I have a really hard time commenting on that because I never had a lot of those clients here. I had maybe like 2 dudes who did that, but they were perming their hair to do so, and it ended up being way more upkeep for them than what they wanted. And so they didn't stick with it long term because of that. And so I wouldn't be surprised if that went out of style. Plus, obviously, it's a meme. Like, it's got a reputation on the internet. It's like the Edgar cut and the broccoli cut are like fighting for the worst haircuts on the internet. Although I've seen some good Edgar cuts out there. I'm not going to knock it. Another thing that I'm seeing sort of fall out of fashion is side parts. Like anything that's very 1940s. 1950s, just anything really too classic. Like, it's definitely more 80s, 90s now and less 40s, 50s. And so I still do them on guys who are 50 and just, they look at what their kids are doing and they think they're doing what their kids are doing, but really they're doing what their kids did 5 years ago. I don't do many of those cuts anymore. Very few. I'm not going to say I never do them. I'm not mad about it either because for a good 10 years there, that was like the only kind of haircut that we were doing. Like everybody just wanted the same look. Facial hairstyles question. What facial hair trends are you seeing? And is there any method to the madness of matching hairstyles with certain facial hairstyles? So I am not actually a beard expert. I do beards, but kind of just like an add-on that I kind of do on the sides. Like, I don't have any who come in just for their beard, but it's something I'll do for a client who's getting a haircut. What I've been getting requests for lately with the beards is very similar to what I said about haircuts in general, is that they don't want lines. They don't want my clients will say like, hey, can you clean up my beard? But I don't want that painted on like perfect line thing. They want everything to look very organic and natural. And so what I'm finding myself doing more with beards now is fading them so that they can still have the weight around the jawline where they want to sculpt their face. But then rather than having it come to a like, those are the only two haircuts, coming into fashion. Like, right now there is nothing in the middle. People either want this or they want this. And so what I find myself doing a lot of is cutting the sides tight, then cutting the hair in the back and on the top really full. Because that way, I can kind of add up and emphasize how long this is to emphasize the stronger angles in the face. And they're really popping out. Or I can kind of soften the angles in the face. I can use more natural fabrics. I mean, they're cool.